So you've probably heard that it's possible to become a fluent English speaker just by watching movies or listening to podcasts in English, for example, right? Everyone says that. You already know that. Maybe you even have a friend who speaks amazing English and they did it just this way, by living the language, consuming media, spending time on the internet, joining communities, and so on. But, why is it that so many of the people that learn this way don't actually seem to ever get advanced English? They go from a basic level up to intermediate level. And at this point, they can probably understand most of what they read or hear. But now that they've gotten to this level, doing the same things that they were doing before just don't seem to have the same impact. It's kind of like they've gotten stuck in this intermediate zone. Does this sound at all familiar to you? Maybe it's even the case for you that you're in this situation right now, right? Well, most of the time, the problem isn't actually that you're doing the wrong activities. In fact, if you've already created yourself a lifestyle in English, you're already doing a fantastic job. That's probably not the problem. But maybe what you haven't realized is that there's a secret. Actually, it's not really a secret. It's more of a special thing that the people who are really able to get fluent and advanced English start doing at this point that you might not be doing yet. And it's all about something that changes here in your mind. So to explain it better, let's imagine the following situation. So you're having a conversation in English, and partway through the conversation, you freeze up a bit because you can't think of a certain word. But your conversation partner helps you out, and that way you can continue going with the conversation. After about 10 minutes, you part ways and you head home. So what do you do next? Now, that's not a very proactive approach, is it? Here is what you should actually do. So take note of the word using a note-taking app on your phone, or you can even use a small notepad if you're old-fashioned during the conversation or as soon as you finish it. Write down some sentences with the word. Spend the next days or weeks reading your sentences out loud and thinking about that word. Be on the lookout for that word every time that you watch a TV series, a movie, listen to a podcast, or read a book. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because every single week you'll get a new lesson that's going to help you go from feeling like a lost, insecure English learner to being a confident and natural English speaker that you know you can be. Now, did you notice the mentality that is behind all of these different actions? It's what's called active learning. Active learning is all about developing curiosity and being an inquisitive learner. Now, being inquisitive means that you ask questions. You don't just take things at face value. The opposite of active learning would be passive learning. Now, when you learn passively, all you're doing is watching content or reading something or whatever, and you're just not really doing any of the hard mental work to think deeper about what you're consuming. You're just hoping that the information will get into your brain by osmosis. Osmosis basically means that you absorb something instantly. So this is that special thing that I was telling you about. People who have a more advanced level of English than you have this trait in common. They're actively curious about the language. And keep in mind, this is part of the mindset of a successful English learner. It's really an attitude that you have towards the language. So, do you think you're an active learner? Well, let's find out. Imagine this next situation. All right, so you take English classes once per week with a private teacher for about an hour. You just finished your class and your teacher gave you an assignment that before next week, you need to watch a TED Talk, take some notes of the main points, and then you're going to present a summary to your teacher about them. So let's look first at what not to do. It's so nice to enjoy this glass of juice while thinking in my native language. I love talking to my friend in my native language. I don't know if I'm dreaming, but if I am, I sure am dreaming in my native language. This report in my native language is really hard to write. I love to take a walk in the park and think about my day, in my native language, of course. This guided meditation in my native language is really centering. I love to sing my favorite song in my native language and play guitar. Oh no, I have to watch a video in English before the class? So here's what you could do instead. So you could simply sit down and watch the TED Talk that your teacher assigned you. You don't need to worry about the details, The idea here is just to get the main gist or the main idea of what it's talking about. So now you can watch the TED Talk again, but take notes of any interesting points that you notice. And you might want to pause the video when you do this so you don't miss anything. Maybe with your morning coffee, you could sit down, take a look at your notes, and start writing your summary in just 1 or 2 paragraphs. Then you can come back to watching the TED Talk again with subtitles in English, and especially pay attention to any words or expressions that you aren't familiar with. Look them up, and if there's some that you really still can't understand, you can ask your teacher in the class. You can search for other videos and podcasts on the topic so that you can continue building on the vocabulary and the context that you learned about. You can watch it again, but this time being more focused on pronunciation, really honing in or listening to the details of how the presenter says certain words or phrases. You could even take it to the next level by imitating them and recording yourself, and then comparing the two to see how closely you can get to speaking like the presenter did. As you can see, this active approach to learning looks very different from the passive approach. Being an active learner is all about looking for opportunities to learn anytime or anywhere. With one piece of content, you can get so much out of it if you really are paying attention. And a great way to become a more active learner and have a lot of fun doing it is with the Real Life app. Now, with our app, you will listen to our world-famous podcast with full transcripts and vocabulary definitions. Plus, you can use vocabulary flashcards that are going to help you to activate the vocabulary that you learn and never forget them. And finally, you can practice everything that you learn by speaking English anytime, anywhere. So what are you waiting for? This is absolutely the best way to become a more proactive English learner. So you can download the app now for free in your favorite app store or by clicking up here or down in the description below. So you're watching your favorite TV series. And what's more, you're watching it fully in English with the audio and subtitles in English. That's awesome. But then you run into this word.
So I'll get candles in my mom's lace tablecloth, and since it's Rachel's birthday, and we want it to be special, I thought I'd poach a salmon. What?
Question, why do we always have to have parties where you poach things?
So what do you do next? I'm not sure what this word poach means. Oh well. Now don't get me wrong. It's totally okay for you to watch TV series and movies just to enjoy them. But if your goal is to take your English to the next level, then this approach just is not going to cut it. So here are some things that you could do instead. So you can pause, you can go back, repeat it again, you can listen and even pause it and then repeat saying the phrase yourself. It can be a really good idea to have your phone or notepad handy to take notes of any new words that you encounter. This is something that I really like to do because I don't like to interrupt the flow of what I'm watching. And then when it's my study time, I can use that to look up all the new words that I learned from a particular episode of a series that I'm watching. And something really simple that you can do that will already do wonders for turning something passive into something active is sitting down with a goal. And it can be a really small goal. So for example, say you're going to watch an episode of Friends, and your only goal during watching that episode is to learn one new word. By the way, if you love watching TV series or movies, then you have got to check out the recent podcast where we look specifically at how you can make watching your favorite media a more active process. So you can find that anywhere where you listen to podcasts, and we'll also link it down in the description below. Now it's your turn. We would love to hear how you have made your English learning more active. What are some things that you've done that you've found to be really effective? Why don't you share them with us and your fellow learners down in the comments below? So being curious and inquisitive about the language is exactly what takes someone from being an average speaker of the language to being an exceptional speaker of the language. So look for more opportunities where you can make your passive learning into active learning, and you're going to see incredible results. If you're really wanting to master a language, it can take years upon years upon years. So what systems help us to do is to put the focus on the little things that we need to do every day in order to have immense long-term benefits. So just to give you an example, say that you make it your habit to learn 3 new words every day. That's not really that much, and it might just seem like it's too small of an objective to have. However, if you were able to do this successfully, if you can successfully build this goal of spending just a few minutes every day practicing and memorizing 3 new words, then over 2 years, you will have added over 2,000 new words to your vocabulary. So you can see it really builds up over time.